Historical Reconstruction of Aryan X.
Episode 70, The Identity of the Turks. Childhood Curiosity. Since I was young, I had something I was truly curious about. Based on the Caspian Sea and Central Asia, on its left is located Türkiye, which is called Turk, and on its right is a country called Turkmenistan. However, seeing people mention only Türkiye when referring to Turk, I once thought it very strange. I came to reveal the identity of this Turk with my own hands and uncover the truth that the Turk was precisely the Scythian Aryan, the ancestor of all people worldwide. The problem with the history of the Anatolian Peninsula and the Middle East is the fact that as the original Greek, Roman, and Byzantine civilizations of Georgia, Armenia, and Kurdistan, which actually existed on the Anatolian Peninsula, were fabricated and transplanted to current Europe and Istanbul, the history of the Anatolian Peninsula and the Middle East became an empty vacuum. I cannot help but smirk at the facts that the history of the Scythian Aryans of Turkmenistan, Central Asia, which was destroyed and erased, appears in the Anatolian Peninsula and the Middle East. Just as I exposed the problems with the history of the Elam Empire transplanted as the history of the Middle East, please keep in mind the fact that the history of the Seljuk Turks and Ottoman Turks transplanted as the history of current Turkey is a transplantation of the history of the Scythian Aryans of Turkmenistan, Central Asia. The Turks in history or in Turkmenistan, not Türkiye. Then, the fact is that all the history of the Seljuk and Ottoman Turks said to have been on the Anatolian Peninsula is a fabrication. Using the fabrication of the Travels of Marco Polo, Dongbangyeonmunurok, they inserted a region called Turkomania into the Armenia section, starting the transplantation work of the existence of Turks who were not even on the Anatolian Peninsula. They inserted the history of Western Zia, which was in Turkmenistan, Central Asia, into the Anatolian Peninsula under the name Seljuk Turks. Subsequently, they transplanted the history and contents that were in the destroyed Turkmenistan, Central Asia, to Istanbul and the Anatolian Peninsula under the name Ottoman. Since the situation is like this, Georgia, Armenia, and Kurdistan, the centers of Greece and Rome that were on the Anatolian Peninsula, were naturally erased and disappeared. Saracen Empire, 650 to 1037. Saracen or Saracens is a general term referring to the people of the Islamic Empire. Originally, it referred to nomads living on the Sinai Peninsula in the late Roman Empire. It originated from the Greek word Sarakenos, which is said to have originated from the Arabic word Sarakin, meaning people living in the East. After Christianity was established in the Arabian region, it was used as a collective term for the peoples living in Arabia. Since the establishment of Islam in the 7th century, it was virtually used with the same meaning as Muslims. It is especially used to refer to Muslims in Sicily and the southern Italian peninsula. It was a word used in the Byzantine Empire in the early Middle Ages and spread to Western Europe through the Crusades. In ancient times, it originated from the people of the Latin cultural sphere living in Greece and Rome, calling the nomads of the Syrian grasslands Saraceni. After the rise of Islam in the 7th century, the Byzantines used this term to refer to Muslims in general, and through the Crusades, this designation was used throughout Western Europe. Saracens, a collective term for the great empire built by believers of Islam, after the successors of Muhammad built a great empire spanning Asia, Europe, and Africa in the mid-6th century, it led to the Abbasid Empire and the Turkic Seljuk dynasty, and after Mongol rule, it led to the Timurid, Mughal, Safavid, and Ottoman empires. In medieval Europe, they were called Saracens, and in China, the Abbasid dynasty was called Daisikkuk. Refer to Wikipedia. First, it was said that Saracen originated from the Arabic word Sarakin, meaning people living in the East. Then where on earth did the word Arab originate? Where did all the words Europe, Arab, and Arabia originate from? There is the word Europe. Let's look for the etymology of this word. Koreans also learned Europe as Gurapa, O-U-R-A-P-A. I said the Gura of Gurapa is the same word as KR or GR, the Gori of Korea. The Pa of Gurapa also means land. Then Gurapa also means the land of Scythia. The capital of Armenia is called Yerevan. The pronunciation of Yerevan can also change to Yerab, Arab, and Europe. And Arabia came from the words Europe and Arab. Then in the travels of Marco Polo, Dongbangyeonmunrok, it was said that Saracens are people to the east of Arab. If this Arab is Yerevan, the east of Armenia becomes Turkmenistan across the Caspian Sea. The Sara of Saracen means Saul, a bodhisattva or emperor, and also becomes Shilla, the mysterious land where the Shilla, the Daepo Kwangchong, great papal court of Dharma, was located. The Sen refers to the hermit, Sonin, living in this mysterious land of Turkmenistan, Central Asia, who was also called Senyim. This word Senyim changed to become Sunim in Buddhism. Regarding Galatasaray among Turkey's place names, Galata consists of Gala, the Gori of Korea, and Ta, to land. Saray with the equivalent meaning as Sada of Saracen. Regarding Bulgarasaray of Russia, Bulgara consists of Bul, meaning bright, and Gara, the same word as the Gori of Korea. Saray was said to have the same meaning as Sada of Saracen. The Abbasid dynasty was called Daisekguk, but a national name identical to Daisekguk is Daishi, great city, referring to the place where the emperor of Central Asia was located, which was called Daishi. Daisekguk was altered to Daisik, meaning eating food, but the original meaning is the nation of Daishi, the great city. 2. Seljuk Turks. I explained the Seljuk Turks in episode 23-3, Great Scythian Aryans. I said that Seljuk Turks is the transplantation of the history of Western Xia, which was the history of the place where the Buddha was located in Turkmenistan, Central Asia, after adaptation to the current Anatolian Peninsula, so please refer to the book content.
3. Identity of Ottoman Turks. In the Turkomania region section of Marco Polo's The Travels of Marco Polo, Dongbangyeonmunrok, I said that the identity of the Turks appearing in the Travels of Marco Polo on the Anatolian Peninsula is a fabricated history where they fabricated an existence that was not in that region and forcibly inserted it into the historical content. And I have already revealed that the histories appearing in Middle Eastern history are histories of the Scythian Aryans of Turkmenistan, Central Asia, fabricated and transplanted exactly to the current Middle East. 1. Media, 728 BC to 550 BC. 2. Achaemenid Empire, 550 BC to 330 BC. 3. Era of conquest by Alexander the Great, 330 BC to 250 BC. 4. Parthia, 250 BC to 226 AD. 5. Sassanid Empire, 226 AD to 651 AD. 6. Islamic Empire, 650 AD to 1037 AD. The above Middle Eastern histories are all histories of Turkmenistan, Central Asia, and I revealed this in episode 3.2, Great Scythian Aryans, so please refer to it. Now then, let's check the contents of Ottoman Turks in the dictionary. The Sublime Ottoman State or Ottoman Empire, Turkish Empire, Ottoman Turkey, or simply Turkey, is a vast empire that ruled most of Southeast Europe, West Asia, and North Africa from the 14th to the early 20th centuries. Founded by Osman I and northwestern Anatolia in the late 13th century, it crossed over to Europe in 1354, conquered the Balkan Peninsula, and established a huge empire spanning 3 continents. Mehmed II of the Ottoman Empire captured Constantinople in 1453, succeeding in destroying the Byzantine Empire and making its name widely known. From 1517, it also held the title of Caliphate, meaning the leader of Islam. It is said that the Ottoman Turks captured Constantinople, that is Istanbul, on the Balkan Peninsula where the emperors of the Hunnic Empire and Holy Roman Empire resided. Aha, the alias Ottoman Turks history seems to have been an existence that took over the history of the Holy Roman Empire, the real Turks who were in Istanbul at the time exactly as it was. The place where the capital of the fabricated Ottoman Empire is located is precisely the capital of the Hunnic Empire and Holy Roman Empire of the Scythian Aryans. Regarding Islam, Isul was said to mean outside, like the Isul of Islamabad, and has the same meaning as the Is of Istanbul. Lam was said to be a Buddhist term meaning the brightness of Lama, Rome, and Baramuni. The Bull of Istanbul, which is Constantinople, is the same word as Bull of Buddhism, meaning bright. The people who fabricated history seem to have fabricated history in a truly arcane way. To make the current Anatolian Peninsula the land of Turks, they should have erased the national name Turkmenistan of Central Asia, which is its origin. But after erasing the cultural traces and history, they could not erase the national name Turkmenistan there, so things like this happened. Based on the Caspian Sea, its left is Turkey, fabricated as Turk, and across the Caspian Sea in Central Asia there is also Turkmenistan, called Turk. If anyone has pondered and thought about this problem even once, he is an awakened person. However, those who ignore Turkmenistan next door and look for Turks only in Turkey will never know the truth of history forever. Where on earth was the real Turk? In Shakespeare's tragedy Othello, they seem to have perceived the Turks in their history as people who were circumcised. The Scythian Aryans who were in Turkmenistan, Central Asia, were not circumcised, and I said they were people who sought the truth for humanity with the spirit of Hongik Ingan, devotion to the welfare of mankind, to widely benefit the world. Aren't the circumcised humans the current Israelis? A famous food of Turkey is kebab. Do you understand its meaning? K has the meaning of Scythian like the Ka of Shaka, Scythian. Bob is called bob in Korean, meaning food just as it is. All kinds of food like gimbap, bibimbap, and bokumbap are called bob. Kebab was a Korean word. Turkey was called Turk, but I said Turkmenistan across the Caspian Sea is the original Turk. I said the Turks of Turkmenistan were Scythian Aryans and Koreans in history. The method to prove that they are Koreans, the Scythian Aryans, is very simple. Interpret the national names and place names of the world in their own language. Regarding Cappadocia, Ka is the Scythian of Shaka. Pa means the papal court or brightness. Do means land. Sia or Kia had the same Scythian meaning as Ka, Ku, and Ko. The scene in Gori of Georgia and the scene in Cappadocia of Turkey have exactly the same meaning. Isn't this place where bright people, Buddhists, practiced asceticism? Regarding Galata of the Galata Bridge connecting east and west, Galata is the Kori of Korea, which is Gata. Ta was said to be land. Regarding Ankara, the capital of Turkey, An was said to have a bright meaning like Ung, and Mong in Angkor. Kata has the meaning of Kori of Korea, identical to Galata of Galata. Bursa, Bur, was said to have the same bright meaning as Bor of the Bourbon dynasty, Bri of Britannia, and Bull of Istanbul. Sa has the meaning of Scythian of Shaka, Shah. Konya, Ko, is the Scythian of Shaka. Nya or Nia means Yoyang, which is Ionia. I said the place where the emperor of Central Asia was located was Yoyang. If you pronounce Konya differently, it becomes Korea. Konya and Korea are the same word. Kataman, Kata is the Kori of Korea, identical to Galata of Galata. Man has the same meaning as Manchuria, where the emperor of Central Asia was located. Izmir, Is has the meaning of outside like Is of Istanbul and Niz of Tunis. Mir means village or city like the Mer of Merhaba, the greeting in Turkey. All place names in Turkey were precisely Korean. Then who on earth are the Turks here? The protagonists of this Anatolian Peninsula were Georgia, Armenia, and Kurdistan. In the next episode, I will reveal the identities of all sorts of races appearing as Slavs, Hebrews, Dorians, Ionians, Corinthians, Germans, Scythians, Aryans, Saracens, Islam, Christ, and Catholics. Please refer to the attached blog for details regarding the YouTube video release schedule as well as the title and table of contents of the prepared book. https://blog.naver.com/go Kim Garcia